happy summerween. If you don't know what summerween is, it is a week-long readathon hosted by the best booktubers on this platform. Olivia reads a latte and Gabby reads, and is a whole week in the summer dedicated to reading spooky books, giving us fall vibes. Today is actually day 2 of summerween, but I had to wait for my book of the month box to come so I could show you my complete TBR for summerween. It was finally delivered, so here it is. Here is the summerween TBR with all the prompts. The first book on my TBR is The Club by Ellery Lloyd. This fits the prompt for reading a book that takes place in the fall time. This book takes place in October and it is about this exclusive celebrity club, and then there's a murder that happens and the whole world is speculating what happened at this club. The next book on my TBR is Riley Sager's new release, The Only One Left. This fits the prompt for having black or orange on the cover, and hey, this accomplishes both. I have read all of Riley Sager's previous works and absolutely loved them, so I am pretty confident I will also love this one as well, and this is what I'm actually reading today on day 2. The very first prompt says read a book in the dark, and then also under that says read any thriller. I combined the two prompts. We are going to be reading The Housemaid by Frida McFadden because this is a KU book, so I could also read it on my Kindle at night in the dark. You get where I'm going. This book has been all over TikTok. Frida McFadden is the TikTok mystery thriller queen right now, and so obviously I must read her books because I love mystery thrillers. I haven't read Frida McFadden yet, and I feel like that's just a crime, okay? So I need to read her books so I can see what the hype is all about. And for the last prompt of reading a graphic novel, manga, or novella, I chose a novella, and I am going to be reading Killjoy by Holly Jackson. This is the novella that concludes a Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy, and I am so excited to read this. So I just need some lighthearted joy from our characters, and this literally has joy in the title. So I feel like I'm going to get that lighthearted joy that I was missing in As Good as Dead in this book here. So yesterday was the first day of summerween, and I kicked it off by reading The Club by Ellery Lloyd, so you can see how I liked this book.
All these dried up bones are running wild on this old night. We're sitting by the traffic lights, don't know. I don't know if I should go.
Okay, so I'm done with my errands for the day. I actually sold a book on Pango, so I dropped it off. I got Panera, and there's a thrift store by here. I really want to go check out the books. Not that I need any more books, and my summerween TBR is already set, but we're just gonna go see what they have because you never know what you're gonna find. So since we're by the thrift store, we're just gonna go do a quick little thrifting, look around. Maybe they have some good books, maybe not, and then we'll go home and continue reading. So I've been listening to the audiobook for The Club, but I'm gonna do a physical read of it when I get home. But the audiobook, the narrator is really good.
I was called this home. Same old rusty fence and cracks and dents, puddles in the pavement. Yet I don't know which way to go. Endless nights in candlelight, open wounds that just don't feel quite right. Hollow eyes and dried up cries, all will fade come daylight. Come daylight, will it be alright?
Okay, so I just left the thrift store. I only ended up getting one book, but they have a $10 minimum for credit cards, and of course I am not the girl to carry cash. The book was $1.50, so I had to shop the whole store, and we're not gonna like judge me for my messy car, okay? So let's talk about the book I picked up. I got The Husbands by Chandler Baker. She has a new release coming out this month, actually in July, that I am dying to read. So yeah, I was very excited to see this by her. This is called The Husbands. It is a domestic thriller. From reading the back, what I gather, it is about this married couple, and the wife is kind of unhappy because the husband is a workaholic. He's always at the office. She's like a stay-at-home mom, but even though that he's always at the office like working and she's at home, she feels like she is pulling more weight. She is doing more. So they go to this suburban town where basically all the husbands are just super nice and loyal to their wives and just doing everything correctly, and she is like, oh my god. They move in there, she gets drawn into the world of the wives, and she finds out the reason why the husbands act the way they do, and that is the thriller, suspense, mystery part, so we don't know, but it's implied on the back. It literally says on the back, how far will a woman go for a little more help from her husband? But there's a secret to having it all, and it's one that may be worth killing. I'm excited. It sounds so fun. So yeah, I got this. It was $1.50, so I had to buy other things. I got this, put my Kindle in for when I go to the beach. Let's see, I got this, which is a Free People sports bra, which is like super tiny, but like if it doesn't fit me, I'll just put it on Poshmark. But it's a intimately Free People sports bra. And then I bought this little Slay Sport sack purse that has these teddy bears on it, and it was just giving me like Y2K trendy hipster girl vibes. So this I bought to sell on eBay and pay for everything else that I bought. So I am finally home, and oh my god, I would love to sit down and physically read my book, but I think we're going to continue with the audiobook because I just need to clean my house. That is what the responsible thing to do in this moment would be, is to clean my house. I knew this book took place in fall time, but what I didn't know about this book is that all the events are like leading up to a Halloween party. So like honestly, it couldn't have fit in better for summerween. I have the audiobook, I have my nice noise canceling headphones. We might just spend a whole day cleaning, which if you know me is like, oh my god, Megan, you are finally an adult. So yeah, that's what I'll do, and I will update you guys when I update you.
Come daylight.
So I have been doing chores, listening to the club, and this book you're following 4 POVs. So it is a multi-POV story, which I love mystery thrillers that are multi-POV. I always think it's like more interesting to get the events from multiple characters. It takes place at this place called Home. Home is a company founded by Ned and his brother Adam, and they basically set up these exclusive clubs all over the world, and the only people able to get into these clubs are celebrities and the elite. They're opening a new location of the club, and they're having all these famous people come here, and it's supposed to like be the event of the season. And on the third morning, Sunday morning, a body is found. Somebody has been murdered, and that is essentially what the story is about. This book is really not that interesting. It's one of the books where I feel like I'm just like listening to it to pass the time, but I'm not really invested. I don't really care about the characters, and a lot of things are just like blurring together. It's not because I'm not giving the audiobook my full attention, like it just can't keep my attention. It's passing the time while I'm doing chores, and that's all it's doing for me right now. If you want to know what dinner time is like when you're trying to feed a husky, this is it. Cooper, crate! Cooper, crate! Cooper, crate! Thank you. Cooper, get in your crate! Crate. Okay, sorry, like my dishwasher is going right now, but yeah, this is mealtime for the dogs. I spent the past hour scrolling through TikTok because instead of being productive, I was like, oh, I've been productive enough, like whatever, let me scroll through TikTok. Basically, I'm doing everything to avoid finishing this audiobook because like I'm so over it and I like do not care. And like, don't you get in those headspaces sometimes with the book where you do not care? But yeah. And Cooper over there, he loves to test me. He loves to put his 2 little paws outside his crate. When I say crate, I mean get your butt in your whole crate, right? He loves to put his 2 little paws outside the crate and test. Okay, so yesterday I ended up finishing The Club by Ellery Lloyd, and no. I rated this book 2 stars. I did not want to rate it 1 star because I feel like 1 star is reserved for books that make me angry, like Spanish Love Deception, Every Summer After. This didn't necessarily make me angry. I just didn't like it. I thought it was super boring. It was slow paced. Also too, I think the characters, especially the multiple point of views that we get, the characters from those POVs are not differentiated enough, especially Annie and Nikki. Those 2 characters specifically, they have such similar roles in the company that you're reading about, that, and they're such similar people, it's hard to know who is who. And I thought maybe, okay, I'm listening to the audiobook for this, so maybe that has something to do with it, right? Because I'm just like not paying attention when the chapters change. No, I was reading reviews on this, and the people who physically read this book have the same problem I do, where they're like, they weren't differentiated enough for me to understand who is who. Also too, there are so many side characters in this book as well that they all start to blur together and get confusing, and you're like, who is this? Who is this? I just did not really enjoy this one. This one fell flat for me. The ratings on Goodreads is pretty low for this book. It's like a 3.32 or something. So yeah, I'm not alone in it. I rated it 2 stars, and we really just don't have to waste any more time on it. Good morning, everybody. It is day 2 of Summerween, and this is the day I am most excited for because I'm going to be reading Riley Sager's new release. Yesterday, I got my Book of the Month box in the mail, which contains the only one left, so I just figured let's just do a whole Book of the Month unboxing so you guys can see the other books I picked. And I just love Book of the Month for saying you've got great taste. Like, thank you for that affirmation, that confirmation that I indeed do have great book taste. So the The first book I picked from Book of the Month this month is Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. I am so excited to read this book. I'm seeing everybody reading it, but I was just waiting for my Book of the Month box come in to read it. Could I have bought the paperback? Yes, but then it wouldn't match my other editions. So I am very excited and I need to find a time to read this month. The second book in the box is the one we've been waiting for, and it is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I am so excited about this book. I'm so excited to read this book today. This book says it is a gothic killer. A gothic killer. Okay, I'm not really one for gothic stories, but like if there's something I don't like, I trust Riley Sager to make me like it because I have enjoyed all his other previous books. And this fulfills my prompt for having black or orange on the cover. And the last book I got from Book of the Month, which was my main pick, is Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. I am so excited to read this book, and if you could ever have a Book of the Month box that perfectly encapsulates who I am as a reader, this would be it. If you're ever watching one of my videos and you're like, should I subscribe to Megan? Look at these books, and if these define you as a reader as they define me as a reader, then I think you should subscribe down below, because then we're the same person. Romance, mystery, thriller, and fantasy. There's nothing I love more than all three.
Weightless, I am weightless. Underneath your wind I soar. Wasted, I feel with every breath I draw from you.
Okay, so I have just been lounging around reading all day. It was thundering and I was really hoping it was gonna rain, but it didn't. But I was like, how perfect would that be? Thunder and rain plus a mystery thriller book for summerween? Like, I couldn't get more perfect than that. I got the thunder noises, but no rain, sadly. Anyway, I am on page 100 of this book, which is a chapter 11. And now that I've read like a good chunk of the book, I figured I'd give you guys a little bit of a plot synopsis summary of this book. So in this book, you're following our main character, Kit, and she is like a home health caregiver. So she's basically kind of like a nurse, but not a nurse. Then she goes to old people's houses and basically just takes care of them, right? And something happened with her old client and she was suspended from her job. Well, this is her first day back off suspension. She goes in the office and her boss is like, hey, I got this client for you. And when she finds out the name, she's like, oh, no, I can't do that. The client is none other than Lenora Hope. Lenora Hope is an infamous lady in their town because when she was younger, her father, her sister, and her mother were all murdered in the mansion that they live in. But Lenora Hope was not harmed at all, and she has no idea what happened. She's like, oh, I slept through it. I have no idea what happened. The police investigated her, and either she was found not guilty by them, or they just didn't have enough evidence to prosecute. No one's really sure why, because the whole town thinks she's guilty of it. There's even like these rhymes, like, you know how when you were little, you would stand in front of the mirror and go, Bloody Mary, like that type of thing. So they have like these childhood rhymes about Lenora Hope, and so our main character grew up with those childhood rhymes, and she's like, oh my god, like, am I really gonna walk into a murderer's house right now? She's kind of like nervous of Lenora, but then she's also not, because Lenora is now paralyzed. She can only move her left arm, and she's mute, so she can't really communicate, which almost kind of makes her more scary in a sense. But they do find ways to communicate through like tapping and also through a typewriter that is there. I'm really enjoying the pacing of this book because I feel like we're getting information revealed to us rather quickly, but the information that's being revealed to us only leaves us with more intrigue and more questions. For example, the reason why she's suspended, in the beginning she alludes to the fact that she was suspended, then you kind of get a piece to the mystery, then you get another piece to the mystery, and you feel like you have all the answers, but it's almost leaving you with the more questions and more suspiciousness. So far, just based on the first 100 pages, if you like the book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James, I think you would like this book because there's a lot of similarities between them. Of course, there's a lot of things that differentiate the two books, but if you like the setup and the premise of the book of Cold Cases, I think you would like this. Oh, another thing I really like about this is the formatting of the book, because you're switching between like present day time, right, like Lenora and Kit's time together in the house in the mansion, and you're also getting like Lenora typing on the typewriter her story of what happened back then, so you kind of get like that back and forth, which I really enjoy that. And there's also like this paranormal element to it that I feel like Riley Sager does like in a lot of his books, where is it paranormal, is it not paranormal? And I always love a good haunted house, a spooky house. So far, yeah, really liking this so far. How many times can I say that I'm really liking it so far? I will update you guys when I'm more than 100 pages in next time.
weightless. I am weightless. Underneath your wind I soar.
I finally finished The Only One Left by Riley Sager, and I am so happy with this book. This book was such a fun time. I highly recommend this. If you were skeptical about Riley Sager's previous work, I really do think you would like this. Specifically, if you really liked Home Before Dark, I think you would also really enjoy The Only One Left, because you have that like gothic mansion. Is it haunted? Is it not haunted? And then you also have like all these people, right? They're living in this mansion. So you have the chef, you have the housekeeper, you have the lady who kind of looks over the house, and then you have obviously Lenora, who is the boss, who is mute, and she can't really communicate, but she has all these workers around her and they all live on the property. So it's kind of like a closed door mystery in a sense. I just really love when we have our characters kind of living in the same house, that close quarters, and then it's also a house. Is it a haunted house? Is it not a haunted house? And then learning about the past as we come through. This book does one of my favorite things ever, where we kind of have like alternating formats, right? So we have the traditional chapters where we're reading from our character's point of view and we're reading her experience in real time, but then the alternating little, I wouldn't even call them chapters, but the alternating few pages where you have Lenora writing on her typewriter and you're getting it from her perspective, right? Because this is a character who can't speak, she's mute, but we can get her story through the typewriting that she does. It kind of gives me a similar format to Home Before Dark, where you have our character giving us her version of events, her perspective from what's happening in real time, and then the alternating chapter is her dad's book that she references in here. So it has like a similar type of vibe to it. You're probably like, Megan, if you love the book so much, why is it a 4.5 star and not a 5 star? Well, it was so close to being a 5 star, so close, until we get to like the final twist at the end. There's one twist in the end in particular, which obviously I will not give away any spoilers, but it just felt too convenient, too coincidental, and that's one of my biggest complaints about books. I don't like when things are too convenient and too coincidental, because it's like, okay, like this isn't really realistic to me. And like, I get it, it's fiction, does it have to be realistic? And there's always like an internal debate going on in my head of like, does it really have to feel realistic or not? Like, obviously I love the Finley Donovan series. Is any of that realistic? No. But I don't know, there's some stories that they set it up to be a rather realistic story, so then when you just kind of throw something in at the end that I feel is unrealistic, it kind of takes me out of the story. Whereas like something like Finley Donovan, it is like crazy and unrealistic from the beginning to the end of the book, so you don't have those expectations of it being a realistic story in the beginning, whereas this one kind of has those set up, right? It's pretty realistic. I could see these things happening in real life, and then we get to the end and it's a bit too crazy for me. Like, not too crazy, I love to be shocked, and overall, like, and yes, it was shocking and my jaw was on the floor, but at the same time I also kind of rolled my eyes like, really, you know what I mean? And I feel like if you read this book you'll understand what I'm saying, but obviously I have to be vague to not give away any spoilers. I would highly recommend picking it up, because it's not one of those endings where I'm like, oh my god, I hate the ending. No, I was still shocked and I still really enjoyed it. I was just like, oh, it's just like a little bit too convenient for me, but I thought the story was paced really well. Like I said, throughout the book, that's impossible to be bored during this book, because you keep learning new information, but that new information you learn keeps you hooked to want to know more and more. It's one of those books that captivates you from page one and just draws you in, and you just like get to know the characters. And honestly, I liked all the characters. Like, even the characters like you're not supposed to like, or the ones you're supposed to be suspicious of or whatever, it's like I still like them for the story, right? Like, it's like, okay, I'm not really supposed to like your character, but you add something to the story, you add tension, you add conflict, and that makes me interested in you as a character, so I like your presence in the book even though I'm not supposed to like you. I am so happy that I read this book for summerween, because this was the perfect summerween read. But yeah, this one amazing, and Riley Sager definitely killed it with his latest release. Today is the day we are going to be reading the graphic novel, manga, or novella. Of course, you guys already know I chose a novella, and I'm going to be reading Killjoy by Holly Jackson, which is the novella to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I am so excited for this book because I just really love that series, and I'm really sad to leave those characters. I'm more excited for the novella because I need something happy after As Good as Dead. I need something happy. I need to see our characters getting along with each other and just having a grand old time. So I was looking at this novella, and literally this much of the book isn't even the novella. It's literally like chapter 1 of Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and then like it's like the first chapter of 5 Survive. So this book is actually super short. I think I'll kind of breeze through this. I don't really have much to say. I'm trying not to read the back because like it's so short. I don't want to know anything. We're just gonna go into it blind. So not only did I finish finished the new Riley Sager book yesterday, but I also read in its entirety Killjoy by Holly Jackson, and I absolutely love this book. This is definitely the book I needed after reading As Good as Dead to kind of feel good about the series again. Obviously, I really enjoyed As Good as Dead. I rated it 4 stars, but what I mean by that, in As Good as Dead, Pip is dealing with a lot of trauma, and it's definitely a darker time for all of our characters, whereas this book takes place before the first book even happens. So you have Pip and all her friends, they're gathered around for a murder mystery party, and obviously no real murder happens. It's just lighthearted fun. And you get to see our characters in a happy mindset, all getting along with each other. You also see things like Aunt and Lauren, and it foreshadows how they're going to act in the rest of the series. And this book, I definitely think you could read it before you read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, obviously, because it's a prequel. It happens before the events of that book even take place. My one complaint about the book is because it is a prequel novella, there is no Ravi in this book. I mean, there's a glimpse of Ravi in this book in the end, but there's no Pip and Ravi interactions. There's no like cuteness in this book. Like after As Good as Dead, all I needed was an extended epilogue of Pip and Ravi's relationship, and we do not get this in this book. That is my only issue with it, and obviously you know that going into it because it's a prequel. You know what happens in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, so you obviously can conclude that Ravi's not going to be in this book. I just want Ravi. I just need to see him happy again. Although you can read this before you start A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, to be honest, I would kind of save it for after As Good as Dead, because again, As Good as Dead kind of leaves you in a dark place with our characters, and this will just bring the lightness and the joy back into the series. So I think this is kind of like the perfect palette cleanser, the perfect way to end the series. So yeah, very happy I read it, and I rated it.
With every breath I draw from you, I die a million times for you.
Happy summerween to me. I had to get a root canal, so like I don't even know how I sound right now because like this whole part of me is so numb. But across the street from my dentist is a Target and a Barnes & Noble, so like obviously we're gonna cheer ourselves up by buying more books because my tooth is aching. So you know, books make everything better.
Your shadow at most, my love.
Summerween, and I can't say it's a very fun day because I had a root canal this morning, so like this part of my mouth is just like completely numb right now, so I can't really eat anything at the moment. So I was just like, let me distract myself, let's go book shopping, because Barnes & Noble is directly across the street from my dentist. It just worked out perfectly for a treat yourself moment. There's also a Target in there. I needed to get ibuprofen, so of course I was like, ibuprofen, but we have to go to the book section first. So I also got a book from Target, and then I came home, you guys, and I had book mail. So we have lots to go over, but first I should give you an update on The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. That is the whole reason we're here. It is a summerween vlog. It's a week of me reading thrillers, and I got 20 pages into the book. I got 20 pages into the Kindle edition for this book, and then I fell asleep, and that was the end of that. So the first 20 pages of The Housemaid, super intrigued by it. I liked the writing style. I was intrigued by the characters and the setup. I'm only 20 pages in, so it's really hard to like give like a detailed like analysis or what I think of the book, but I will say the first 20 pages had me intrigued, and that's all I'm gonna say about it, because this vlog is gonna end with like this clip, and I'm sorry, I just didn't have time to finish the book. So much got in the way this week that I didn't anticipate on, which is why I couldn't complete the TBR. We had service people come, which I didn't know they were coming this week, but we had a custom wall unit made for our living room, and they came to install it. Also, my root canal, I kind of underestimated the amount of anxiety I would have going into it, and when I have anxiety like that, honestly, reading doesn't help. I really just need to watch like trashy reality TV to make all my problems go away. So I was just binging the first season of Below Deck Down Under. So yeah, that is why I didn't complete my TBR, but I went book shopping, and let me show you everything I got, because I was having a true treat yourself moment at Barnes & Noble today. The first book I picked up I got from Target and is The Curse of Saints by Kate Dravis. This seems to be a fantasy romance book and an enemies to lovers romantasy book on top of it. And if you don't know, I have been entering my romantasy era with the Serpent and the Wings at Night duology and then Fourth Wing. So we are going to continue it with this book. So from what I gather on the back, it is about our main character Aya, and she like works for like the queen or something, and she is enemies with a man named Will who also works for the queen. He is the queen enforcer, and Aya's job is really to keep the dark magic at bay from the kingdom. But then something happens and it triggers Aya to have this like uncontrollable release of power. The power that Aya releases hasn't been seen in over 500 years, and now she can be targeted to be a weapon of war for the kingdom, which she doesn't want. And she's just trying to figure out who she is, what she is, how she got these powers, and she's working with Will to figure this all out. And of course they're gonna fall in love. We know it. I don't know if this is like a standalone or if it's gonna be a series or not, but it seemed to be an enemies lovers romantasy, and I said put it in my cart right now. Next I went to Barnes & Noble, and I have never bought so many full price books at Barnes & Noble in my life. The first book I picked up is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. If you don't know her, she is the author of the Inheritance Games trilogy, which is a trilogy that is so close to my heart and that I absolutely love. And I saw a couple people reading her backlist recently. I recently thrifted this duology by her, which is called The Fixer, which is basically YA Scandal. If you know Scandal Olivia Pope, then you'll probably like the series. I can't say that for sure because I haven't read it yet, but that's how it's pitched. Hoopy is panting over here, so I am so sorry if you can hear that on camera. But anyway, so there's this series, which I heard is YA Criminal Minds, which I love Criminal Minds. This is actually a series. There's 4 books in the series. My Barnes & Noble had all 4 books. I was debating on putting all 4 books in my hand, but I was like, no, Megan, just read the first one. We don't know if we're gonna like it yet. We don't need to own the whole series. I would love to try out this author again because I loved her writing style. And one thing I really love about the Inheritance Games is they have really short chapters, and the way she like wrote that whole story and the way she like laid it out, the plot and everything, it was so interesting. All the dots connect. I just really love the plot of that story. I love the characters, and to top it off, I really love her writing style and the fact that she has short chapters. So I'm hoping this will be another win for me. The next book I picked up is The Nanny by Lana Ferguson. This is a new release romance book I feel like I've heard a few people talking about, and it has such a fun premise to me. So basically you have her main character, and she is an OnlyFans model. She has an OnlyFans account. I think she makes good money on there, and then she gets hired as a nanny to a single dad, and she realizes that the single dad is her biggest fan on OnlyFans, but he doesn't recognize her, and then they kind of start like a relationship, I think, throughout the book. So like honestly, it sounds like a super cute premise. I heard it's a super spicy book. My only hesitation with this book is that he is a single dad, which means there's a child in the book. I don't really like kids in books. I tend to find them annoying, so we will see how this one goes, but I have high hopes. It sounds like a fun premise. I don't think anyone's saying this is groundbreaking literature over here, but it's something that'll probably put a smile on my face, and that's all I need right now. The next book I bought is Me Totally Being Influenced by Olivia Reads a Latte, and that is You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Kaylin Barron. This is a YA slasher horror novel. I have accumulated a few YA horror novels recently, so now I feel like I need to do reading only horror books for a week. They're not only horror novels, they are the perfect summer horror novels. This book, you're following our main character Charity, and she works for this summer camp. It's not like a real summer camp. It's like a Halloween Horror Nights, like a Universal type of summer camp. People pay to go there and be scared, and she is the final girl, the last one to survive, and they're basically recreating these scenes from a famous horror movie. And then her coworkers start disappearing, and they find a body, and she realizes that what they've been acting out is now coming true. He needs to survive the night, figure out the killer, what is going on, and I am so excited to read this one. I feel like I say that about every book. Like, obviously, Megan, you wouldn't have bought them if you weren't excited to read them. There were so many great new releases that I wanted to read, so there was so much competition coming down to the last book I was gonna select. I narrowed it down to 2 books, both because they were 20% off. One was The Enchanted Hacienda, which is a fantasy book that has been on my radar, and I really want to read it, but ultimately I didn't get it because I ended up getting The Housekeepers by Alex Hay. I chose a historical fiction book over a fantasy book. I know, we are all shocked. In this book, you're following a housekeeper, Mrs. King, but she's not no ordinary housekeeper. She was born into a world of con artists and thieves, and she goes to work for this rich family, but then they fire her, and she's like, oh, hell no. You are not gonna fire me, because now she collected this ragtag group of individuals, and they're gonna infiltrate this family's famous costume ball that they host once a year and go inside and steal all their possessions right out from underneath their nose. And it just sounds like so much fun. So here's like a little bit about the group she puts together. So we have obviously Mrs. King, the con artist, thief, born housekeeper, and then we have a black market queen out to settle her scores, an actress desperate for a magnificent part, a seamstress dreaming for a better life, and Mrs. King's predecessor with her own desire for vengeance. Does that not sound so good? I am so excited to read this book, and it's not too long either. So yes, I'll report back on how I like this one. And now it is finally time for book mail. We are going to open the the Amazon package first because I know I'm most excited for the Brandon Sanderson one, obviously, so we're saving the best for last. During Amazon Prime Day, I bought 2 book box sets. This is the first one, and then the other one was actually sold out, so it's on back order, and it will get here sometime in August. But the one that I bought is Caraval, the complete Caraval set, and this is all hardcover. So I got 3 hardcover books. You guys, it was priced at $23. $23 for 3 hardcover YA fantasy books. I am so excited. So I've been dying to read Caraval, especially because the Once Upon a Heart trilogy, the conclusion is coming out. In order to read the trilogy, I heard you should read Caraval first because there are spoilers for Caraval in the trilogy. So of course I want to read the book when it comes out. Like, I love how I'm planning on reading a finale book when it comes out when I haven't even read the series and I haven't even read the prequel series. But I have FOMO and I know everybody's going to read it, so like I got to prepare myself so I can read it too. So we are going to be reading Caraval in the very, very near future. And now we are going to open the Dragonsteel package. This is Secret Project and number 2, Frugal Wizard. So they shipped these out already and I never received mine. And I looked at my email and they were like, oh, our last 10,000 copies are on back order. They will get to you when you get to. So I was part of the lucky 10,000 where it came to me super late. But I'm not complaining. I just want the book because I'm not reading the Kindle version of this book. I've been waiting to get the physical edition to read this book. You guys ready? Are you ready? Ta-da! That's not very pretty. It's just black. It's just black paper. So we have a pin that says Vasher. Now, I am not a Brandon Sanderson girl. Like, yes, I gave $200 to his Kickstarter to get all these things. But the only Brandon Sanderson novel I have read is Trust of the Emerald Sea. So, and we have the holographic bookmark. This is super cool. I really love my Trust of the Emerald Sea bookmark. These are like actually the most quality bookmarks I own because all my other bookmarks are the book of the month ones, which are cool, but they're just paper. So these so far are the best quality bookmarks I own. So yeah, I don't know what this is in reference to. It has to do something with the book, but I'll know that when I read the book. Then there is this cute little sticker, which I'm absolutely obsessed with. And again, I will know the context of this once I read the book. And then finally, it is time for me to show you guys the book. So we have the Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. That title is so long, like I have to reference the book cover because I'm like, what was it called again? I don't remember. So I just took the wrap off it, and this book is absolutely stunning. It is leather bound, it's embossed, it has the gold on it. It is so cool. Here is what the end papers look like. Oh my god, the art in this book is absolutely insane. I read part of the book on Kindle. I ended up DNFing it. I've been waiting for the physical copy to read it because I feel like I'll have a better reading experience reading the physical copy of the book. But those are all the books that I bought. That's my book mail. And this is the end of Summerween. So to do a quick little recap on Summerween, we read The Club by Ella Reilly Lloyd. Rated it 2 stars and not a fan of it. We read The Only One Left by Riley Sager. Rated it 4.5 stars. Absolutely loved it. And I highly recommend it to everybody out there. Next, I read Killjoy by Holly Jackson. And even if you haven't read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy, you could definitely read this book because there are no spoilers. I rated this 4 stars and I absolutely loved it. And lastly, The Housemaid, the failed book. I read 20 pages of it. I was intrigued, but that's all I can say about it because now the week is over. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you are a returning viewer of mine and you've watched my videos before, please let me know in the comments below if you like this style video because obviously if you see my other videos, this is just edited differently and it's like a different vibe I feel like than my other videos because I just kind of included more b-roll and like music and background stuff. So please let me know if you like it so I can kind of just like make content obviously that you guys like. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Subscribe down below and bye!